Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Short Hops with Wichita Wingnuts manager Kevin Hooper. Short Hops is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Wichita manager questions about the Wingnuts, baseball or sports in general, or just seek Kevin's wisdom about life events that may be going on for you. This week we have an exciting program for you as Kevin talks to us about the recent signing of Jordan Zimmermann to the Tigers. He shares with us his insights about the NFL, and we learn if Kevin would bean Rob if he was crowding the plate. So let's get right to Short Hops. So we'd like to welcome back manager Kevin Hooper this week. Kevin, let's first of all begin if you have any updates to the team that happened so far.
No, not a whole lot of updates from last week when we spoke. Obviously, being a holiday weekend, things were kind of light and kind of got away from it a little bit. So nothing new to report. I know Josh and I are going to meet this week, go over some stuff. So hopefully maybe starting next week we can get some progress with guys we're re-signing and maybe even some free agents here or there that we're going to be signing.
You were telling me that you had gone down to that camp in Florida for that league. So
Yep.
So there's some guys down there that you were still taking a look at.
Yeah, well, we signed the one, the pitcher out of there, the Ruff guy that we had spoken about, Richard Ruff, and was going to get a shot out of the bullpen. But other than that, as of right now, I don't see us making a run at anybody, besides running with him and going with him and giving him that opportunity. So, but I say again, there's a couple other winter leagues going on. There's a Arizona one, and then there's a California one that'll be starting up after the new year. So Jose Amato, our hitting coach, is actually going to go coach a team down in the Arizona one. So hopefully he'll be able to find a couple guys that we can bring to camp and give an opportunity to.
Now, I know that you're allowed to sign 23 for the season, but when you do your camp, is there a limit on how many players you're even allowed to bring in there?
Yeah, 28. 28's our number to camp.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So you're either making, and we typically bring, we max that out and bring the 28, and so you're making either 5 or 6 cuts depending on if you're going to keep the 23rd or not.
Okay, interesting. Well, heading to our fan questions this week, we first of all begin with Steve from Manitoba, who wished you a happy Thanksgiving. He actually sent this question in just before Thanksgiving, so it couldn't really be belated at that point. But so his question is, if you had to retire Mike Trout for the final out of a game, who would you pick to have on the mound? Josh Dew, Jared Simon, or Matt Navarez?
Well, Steve, thanks for the Thanksgiving wishes. I hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving as well. I like the questions from Steve because he likes picking my brain as a manager and going with these matchup questions. So that's another one. If I had to retire Trout, those are 3 pretty good guys to get a right-hander out. I'll tell you what, I'll give you some examples of what these guys do. Dew had a off-the-chart slider, which was unbelievable against righties or lefties. It really didn't matter. Arguably one of the best sliders I've seen in the game, Josh Dew had as our closer. Simon was a sidearm righty who was also dominant against right-handers, and then Navarez has dominated as a closer for us in the recent years. I would, believe it or not, I might have to go Jared Simon just because of the different look, the sidearm look, which you talk to a lot of hitters, they have no interest in facing sidearm guys. So in this one, as hard as that is, I'd take any 3 of those guys to give him that opportunity to get him out. But I'd go with Simon just because of the different look and from the sidearm angle that he has.
I think an interesting question would be whether any one of those 3 would really like to face Mike Trout.
You know what? Being the competitors that the 3 of those guys are, I would imagine all 3 of those would like that opportunity if they could be given that opportunity.
I bet they would too. I knew Matt quite well there, so I'm sure he would love the opportunity for that. So.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know what? Maybe Matt will get that opportunity. Matt's the only one that's still playing out of the 3 of them, and he had another good year down in Mexico after he left us. And I'm still hoping, working real hard at getting him another opportunity with an affiliated team to at least get him to camp.
Do guys, is following through the Mexican League kind of a good career path if you're looking to get back to affiliate ball?
No, I would say, if you're looking to get back to affiliated ball, probably staying in the States. But if you go down to Mexico and put up a great year, I would think it's going to open some eyes because they consider that pretty much a AAA level. So I think it would open some eyes and maybe at least get an invite for some guys for the next year.
Oh, so that's cool.
You don't see too many guys during the season, though, plucked from Mexico.
Dan from El Dorado would like to know, Jordan Zimmermann signs with the Tigers. You have to like that.
Yeah, that's a good get, no doubt about it. That's a really good starting pitcher that they were able to acquire. And I read something that it's the highest, or maybe even the first pitcher that's ever gotten over $100 million coming off of Tommy John surgery. So that was an interesting fact that I read. But quality starter that'll definitely add some punch to them in that rotation. No doubt about it.
Mark from Kansas City would like to know from you, Johnny Cueto looks like he will not re-sign with Kansas City. Do you think they need to sign another starter now?
Yeah, if Cueto's not going to sign back, I would think, they're going to be in the market for another starter, no doubt. Cueto, I saw, turned down $120 million, rumor has it, from Arizona. I guess he's looking for anywhere from 140 to 160. And I always say, really, what's the difference between 120 and 160 when you're talking that many millions of dollars, I guess. But to each their own. Maybe Arizona just didn't intrigue him a whole lot, but it'll be interesting to see where he ends up and what comes about that. Obviously, I know Kansas City, I would imagine, would like to re-sign him and give him another chance with them, but it looks like he will re-sign somewhere else or not re-sign with Kansas City and sign somewhere else. And I think they'll be in the market for another starter. But what they've done the last couple of years, I don't think they'll have any issues of finding a quality guy to fill his spot.
Boy, plus a really deep minor league system. So if they need a deal for
something. Yeah, and you never know. You never know with those guys coming up. But, you look at a guy like Cueto and replacing a guy like that who's kind of a veteran-type guy, you would imagine that they're going to be given the opportunity to sign another veteran-type guy, but we'll see.
Buck from Olaf would like to ask, how well do you see Greg Holland returning next season?
That's always interesting, coming off of surgery, how guys bounce back. And, you hear stories of guys not bouncing back real well. Then you hear a lot of stories nowadays with technology and the improvements on the surgery of guys going even harder after that Tommy John surgery. So it'll be interesting. I'm not sure what they're going to do, obviously, with Wade Davis doing what he did. It'll be interesting to see what role Holland has, but I know they'll welcome him back with open arms because he's just another power arm to have there late in the game at those late innings.
That's the interesting thing for them, is that they have such a great fallback regardless. So really looking solid.
Yeah. And like you said, they did all what they did without him, and imagine what they can be with him back. So, you wish him the best and hope that recovery goes real well and they can get him back.
Alan from Derby would like to know, why is it called the hot corner at third? Isn't the first baseman just as close and seeing just as much action?
Yeah, I would say the first baseman is just as close. I don't think the first baseman sees as much action as third base for whatever reason. Maybe you don't have as many lefties that pull the ball. Like, you have more righties, I would say, more often than not, more righties in the lineup than lefties. And you're going to have the lefties, a lot of lefties, even when they are left-handed, especially top of the order guys that go the other way and that bunt and play some small ball. So I think it's just a hot corner because they get the most action and they are close. Usually they're playing in even further than a first baseman. To give you an example, even in a bunt situation, the third baseman's in further than the first baseman because he's got to hold the guy on. So I think it's just a deal where they're the closest and they get the most action and don't have a whole lot of time to react into the hot corner.
Does it just seem this way to me, or do more people seem to bunt towards the third base side? Am I wrong with that?
Absolutely. No. And for me, it's a philosophy of if a guy's on first base, we're bunting the ball down the first base line. If a guy's on second base or first and second, we're making the third baseman field it and bunt the ball to third. So I think more often than not, you see guys bunt with guys on second, so therefore they're bunting at third base.
Okay. Interesting. Jake from Wichita would like to know from you, I am trying to teach my son how to judge fly balls. Do you have some suggestions on how to best judge them?
Yeah, I've got a couple things that I use. Obviously catching it at its highest point. That's the biggest thing, is catching it at its highest point. And another thing I see a lot of young kids do is drift. They drift backwards to catch a fly ball instead of turning and running backwards and working your way in. I think that's the best advice I can give to any young kid or a father on helping them judge fly balls, is always work your way in. It's a lot easier to work your way in than to go back on a ball. So try to get them to get back as far as they can and work their way in. I think their vision is going to be a whole lot better when that's the case.
Harold from Kansas City asks, can you believe Bo Jackson is 53 years old? Do you have a favorite Bo moment? That's
crazy to think that he is 53. I imagine if handed him a football or a bat, he could probably still get something done with it. But I know he had the hip issues there for a bit. I have a couple, actually. I remember, I think it was a Monday night football game when he was with the Raiders, and he made that long run, and then he ran into the tunnel and kind of disappeared. That's one of the memories of Bo. And then I think another one, a couple others baseball-wise, him making a catch and running halfway up the fence and then coming back down. And then also him throwing a guy out at the plate from the warning track. So those are some of my fondest Bo memories. What a special athlete he was, and just a fun guy to watch, whether it's play baseball or football. Very, very talented individual, and just a freak athlete that was able to play both at the professional level that he did.
I think he also had a big leadoff home run in the All-Star game in Oakland, too.
Yeah, All-Star game, yep. Yeah, yes he did, yep.
So quite a career for a guy who only got to play for a short time, but well
yeah,
remembered.
I know. Yeah, no doubt.
Kim from Kansas University would like to, or University of Kansas, would like to ask, I read that some Pac-12 teams are upset about the Arizona State coaches stealing signs during games. That makes me wonder how you feel about that in baseball.
Kim from KU, my hometown of Lawrence, Kansas, I'm guessing. I haven't heard this. I'm not sure exactly what the deal is with this, but I will definitely talk about it in baseball. It happens. It happens in baseball. And, you know, my philosophy always is, as a competitor and as an athlete, if I can get an advantage any way I can, I'm going to get that advantage. And, you know, it's just like a catcher getting signs from a catcher when I lead off first base, if I can see the catcher signs. Well, that's an advantage to me, and my thought always is, if you don't want it to happen, then you need to do something about it. So that's just kind of my philosophy. You know, people like to get upset about it, but it's one of those situations, like I said, if someone is mentally talented enough to get a sequence from a pitcher, the catcher signs or something like that, or you're giving signs away, obviously in this case on a football field, hey, to each their own. You know, to each their own, and everybody's going to get every advantage they can possibly get. I don't think that's cheating by any means. It's just taking advantage of an opportunity.
Well, it seems to me, too, in baseball is that because it's a thinking game, you're looking for every advantage that helps you to think better.
Yeah, right. So. Absolutely. I know, like I said, a lot of people get upset about it. That I've seen a lot of situations where guys think that even our guys are giving signs from second base, and they're not. It's not happening. And, you know, there's a lot of managers out there that just panic, I think, and overlook things and are worried about way too many things other than what they need to be worried about.
Is there some advantage, though, from people thinking that you're stealing signs, even if you're not, just because you're in their head at that point?
Yeah, I think it could work both ways. You know, my whole thing is, though, I don't ever want anybody to think we're doing it and then somebody gets hurt, you know, when we're not doing it. So that'd be my only frustrating thing that I could see happen was if that was the case. But, you know, it's always an interesting argument and interesting to see what people think on it. But like I said, I think it's just a strategic part of the game.
Chiefs fan has a few questions for you, so you must have been feverishly
My man, Chiefs fan again, yes.
So, yeah, Kevin, Chiefs 5 in a row, all the way to the playoffs, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, hey, I know I'll be rooting them on just as you will be. So I'm hoping they can. They've been playing really well. I saw it. And, you know, Tyrod Taylor took it to them there for a little bit in the first half, but they were able to maintain him after that. So big win over the Bills, and exciting to see, and hopefully they can keep that momentum, just continue it rolling and make a run at this and get into the playoffs. Here we were talking about them being 1-5 and talking about a draft pick. So it's fun that we're able to talk about them being 6-5, 1-5 in a row, and making a run.
Chiefs fan would also like to know, Rex Ryan was blaming the stadium for problems with the replay. Doesn't he just need to shut up and take his loss like a man?
Oh, boy. Well said. How about we just leave it at that? You know, yeah, I'm never an excuse guy. I never will be, and we'll just leave it at that. Well said, Chiefs fan, well said.
He'd also like to say, crummy Patriots, couldn't they hold on to beating the Broncos? Where's the help, Tom Brady?
Yeah, we needed them. We needed them to beat the Broncos for sure, but I tell you what, Tom's without some weapons right now, and to be able to continue doing what he's doing without those weapons, I mean, you lose your two main receivers, and then Gronk ended up going down late in the game, but just impressed with that Patriots team. I know we've talked about them before and what they're capable of doing, but that would have been nice if they could have beat them Broncos last night. But tip your hat to the Broncos; they stayed in it, and that was a very, very good football game we were able to watch last night.
The Chiefs still have a game against the Broncos left. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yep.
So going to have a chance to cut into that lead there a little bit. So. Benny from Hutchinson asks, there seems to be a lot of speculation that Chip Kelly will leave Philadelphia to return to coach in college. How hard do you think it would be for you to leave the Wingnuts, and what would the job have to be like for you to be willing to leave?
Well, this is another situation about that we always talk about what it would take and whatnot. It'd have to be a special situation. I continue to talk about the reason I'm here is because of my family and being a father of my girls. I think the easiest situation for me would be if a college situation came up and a college job became available and someone was interested in me doing that, because my family could go with me. They would be able to go with me and be able to be with them all the time, and obviously, be out recruiting a lot and at the field a lot, working, but they'd still be able to be with me, and I'd be able to see them pretty much every day. So, until my girls get a little older, I would think that might be the only situation that I would leave for, unless there's an opportunity in affiliated ball that my wife and I thought was going to be a great opportunity that we just couldn't pass up.
So I didn't realize you were looking more interested in being a college coach. Good for you. So.
Well, and I think whether that will ever happen or not, who knows? But it is a level that intrigues me. I think it'd be awesome to, my wife always says she can see the impact I make on 24 to 34-year-old guys. She can imagine what I can do to 18-year-olds. So, just to be given that opportunity, I think it'd be fun, and to have those guys for 4 years and to be able to see what you could do with them and, not only develop as players but men as well would be a lot of fun.
Well, I could see that the 3 spots were, obviously, there's many spots you'd fit in so well about that, but at college, the 3 spots I could see where you would just be ideal for it. First of all, just a great teacher of the game, so people would really understand and be able to perform at a higher level, which is not only good for them and the team aspect, but good for them if they had aspirations of playing professionally somewhere.
Right, right.
Obviously, your recruiting skills are top-notch because you bring in an incredible team every year, so you know exactly what you need to do to go out to make that. But like you said, you also really understand how to create and mold good young men. So college coaches, college ADs out there, there's your coach right there.
I appreciate it.
Steve would like to know, what is the new Kevin Hooper top 5 in the NFL?
Oh, I'll give you my top 5. And you know what? I just looked at the schedule, Robert. The Chiefs do not play the Broncos again.
Oh, okay.
So they've just got they'll have the Raiders twice here in the last 5, and then they play the Chargers. Those are the division games, and they got Baltimore and Cleveland mixed in there. So power rankings: Carolina #1, the only undefeated now. Boy, they're playing really well. Cam Newton's doing a tremendous job. Then you got to go New England still, who's only got the 1 loss. I think you put them at #2. And then I think the next 3 are kind of a toss-up with Cincinnati, Arizona, and Denver probably. But for me, maybe Minnesota. I'm going to give you 6. How about that? I'll give you 6. Throw Minnesota in there as well. They're fun to watch. Teddy Bridgewater's done a really good job with that team being so young and just managing a game. He kind of reminds me of Alex Smith. Never throws for a ton of yards, just manages the game, and they'll peck you to death and end up winning a lot of ball games. So there's my top 6. How about that?
Good top 6. Like it. Stan from Wichita asked, Kobe Bryant was retiring at the end of the season. Isn't it sad to see such a great player have to go out playing for such a terrible team?
Yeah, it's kind of sad that they've struggled the way that they have. You know what? I sat and watched his entire post-game interview last night. I was just sitting on the couch just listening to him. It was neat to watch a guy of that stature just talk about the game and the end of his career coming up. And what a wonderful player, and what he's done for the NBA, and just another tremendous athlete who ended up getting drafted out of high school and doing what he's done. Congrats on a wonderful career to him. And yeah, it's unfortunate, the Lakers have become what they've become, but it is what it is. I know Kobe will make the best of this run here to finish things this season.
Well, it'll make the Lakers season a lot more exciting now, knowing that he's...
Yeah, no doubt. That's as bad as they are. I think that, like you said it perfect. It'll make it a little more exciting with that.
Emil from Topeka would like to know, Kevin, I read that Richie Incognito gained 10 pounds on Thanksgiving. He ate so much. How much do you think you gained on Thanksgiving?
I have no idea. I always eat a lot, that's for sure, but I tell you, I'm one of those guys that I can't gain weight for nothing. So it's always been that way, and a lot of people obviously get mad at me because of that. My brother always says I got those little mice running through me with the metabolism I have, and my wife's raising her hand over there as we speak about it, saying me. She gets upset that I can't gain weight either, but that's how it was when I was playing. Couldn't gain a whole lot of weight, worked hard to do it. Just I have that metabolism of those little mice running through me, and it's really tough for me to gain a whole lot of weight. But so I don't know. It's a tough question. I definitely didn't gain 10 pounds, I'll tell you that much. But Richie's a little bigger than I am, and I could see a guy like him gaining 10 pounds on Thanksgiving. Any of those guys, those football players, I'm pretty sure it's probably pretty easy for them to fill that belly and gain quite a bit of weight in one day.
I would say when you weigh 360, 370, gaining 10 pounds isn't that big a deal. So.
Right.
Jeff has our most interesting question of the day. So he says, I heard you talking last week that you would pitch to Rob to see how many pitches it would take for him to hit one. If he would be crowding the plate, would you give him some chin music first?
Oh, that's funny. No, I would never do that to Rob, ever. No. My duty as a batting practice pitcher, a BP thrower, is to hit the bats. I think I mentioned that last week, too. I faced a lot of pitching coaches coming up throwing BP, and I couldn't stand it because pitchers just have that mentality. They're trying to get you out no matter what. No matter if it's batting practice or whatever, they're trying to get you out. So, I would always say, hey, I got a tough enough battle coming up at 7 o'clock. I don't need to battle right now. I'm just trying to get loose and get my timing down. But, no, I would do my best to hit Rob's bat, and no matter if he stood right on top of the plate, I'd still try to hit that bat instead of him, that's for sure.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I didn't have to show up in a football uniform or something.
We might still put a helmet on Rob, though. How about that?
That's probably safer. Well, thanks for joining us this week, Kevin.
Well, thanks as always. I appreciate it.
All right. See you next week. We want to thank Kevin for joining us this week on Short Hops. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita manager, please send them to us at AskKevin@MinorLeagueSportsReport.com. That's AskKevin@MinorLeagueSportsReport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record our show Monday evening. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next week on Short Hops.